Welcome to Increase, where it is my task to increase, illustrate, and inundate you with information, knowledge, and overall help cause you to think. And I'm your host, Alpheus Gibbs Sr. Hey. Welcome to Increase. I am your host, Alpheus Gibbs Sr., and I want to thank you and welcome you to another episode, another podcast brought to you by AG Consulting. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Listen, I'm going to jump right into it today. I'm feeling really good. You may not hear it in my voice right now, but I feel really good. I'm excited about some things that's happening personally, as well as even in the business world. But today we want to talk about culture of a business. What is it really when we think about the culture of a business, whether it's the job that you work on, your 9 to 5, or whether it is the business that you created. What is your culture? What is it? What is your goal when you're creating that culture? And so this can be translated into so many different fields and areas of expertise, but I really just want to dig deep into that today. Just give me a few minutes. You know what I mean? You know how we do on this podcast. We really want to make sure that we push information, that we really present and project ourselves in a manner that is informational and not just hearsay or even my opinion. 100%. If you hear some kids in the background, those are my twins and my little nephew, and I thank God for them being here. So you're gonna have a little bit of noise, but it's okay as long as you guys can hear me. Okay, we're good. But I was on Indeed as I was doing some research about this, and it gives a definition of the culture of a business, and what they particularly write, they say it's a set of behavioral and procedural norms that can be observed within a company, which includes its policy and procedure, ethics, values, employee behaviors and attitudes, goals, and code of conduct. And I think that's really profound, because when you look at the culture as a whole, just culture, right? We oftentimes hear culture, you think of hip hop, or you think of American culture, or you think of some foreign, entity or country. But I really want you guys to really think about, the businesses that you are creating. What are your culture? What is the culture that you are fostering? What is it that you're creating? What is the culture that you're developing? Are you a person who starts on time, whether you are an employee or whether you are a person who is an entrepreneur? I want to speak to my entrepreneurs. When you open your business, are you open on time? When you make a promise to deliver, a good or a service, is it on time? Are you, doing everything with excellence? Are you really putting your best foot forward? These are some of the questions that you need to begin to answer, because again, you're creating not only a brand out, externally that people will see, but internally, with your business, because you want it to grow, you want to have employees. What is that culture looking like? Are you that kind of, leader that, people see working, and you're breaking down the processes and everything, and making sure that people understand what it is that you want them to do? Or are you simply, just barking orders, and you're late, and your communication skills, your listening skills is horrible? What does the culture of your business look like? What is the culture that you want to be remembered, you want the driving force to be like? I'm reminded, a lot of times, I love Steve Jobs in many ways, from a business aspect, from a creative aspect. He just didn't hire people because their resume fit the bill, but he really wanted to make sure that they were a good fit for the team that he was creating. And so he came up with seemingly, crazy tests or ways to test out his theories, or to see exactly where you were, if you really understood the vision of the business of Apple. And so because of that, they were able to create, masterpieces, technological masterpieces, because he was able to foster and create a culture that he wanted nothing but people who were creative. They were bold. They were risk takers. They were habitual line crossers. They were individuals who were free to be themselves. And I think a lot of times we're afraid to be ourselves. I think you're afraid, even in your own business. That's why many entrepreneurs, they fail, not because the service was horrible or the product wasn't great. It's because they treat it like a 9 to 5. You didn't do the work that was needed so that you could know all of your numbers, that all of your paperwork was filed and taken care of, that you truly wasn't in it to try to get rich quick, but you really wanted to answer a question, solve a problem in the marketplace, and be that voice, be that entity within the marketplace that shifted the culture, that shifted minds. When you think about even like hip hop, for instance, we there's so many different styles of rap. There's so many different styles of DJing, of being an MC. There's so many different genres within hip hop that it allows everyone to find their cult, find their tribe, find their group that they love to listen to, that they love to be around. And I want to ask, my entrepreneurs out there, you know, are you fostering that same kind? Because here's the funny thing too, even if you're a sole proprietor, you still are creating a culture for yourself. Are you meeting the deadlines that you set for yourself? Excuse me. Are you making sure that as you are attacking your goals, like you're not just settling for the mediocre, but you're going after the big fish. You're going after the things that seem like it's difficult, no one is going to appreciate it. Are you really putting your best foot forward, allowing your mind to not just wander, but you are going after everything that you feel like you deserve, leaving no room for error? I mean, you really are out there doing your thing, right? That is the task at hand. That is the thing that separates the wannabes from the gonna bees, right? When we look at, electric cars. Many people have tried it, but they really they didn't they sat there and as they were doing it, they were so enamored with, okay, I just want to put something together, and they didn't care about how it looked. They didn't care about trying to find ways to reduce the cost so that it could be affordable. They just wanted to produce a car. And because of that, they wasn't really successful in it. But then you get a creative guy like a Elon Musk who comes in. He doesn't start the company, but he finds a company that has that it. They have that, they have that something about it, and that something is the culture. How do I know it's the culture? Because when you are looking at the company, you're not just looking at the product, but you're looking at the leadership of that company. And so he walks in, he looks at them, he sees the culture that they have fostered, and he begins to say, "Oh wait, I'm gonna buy in. I'm buying into the culture before I even buy into the business." And I think a lot of times we overlook that. We overlook it because you feel like you're creating a service or a product, but you don't realize that it's sales, and that people are buying into you just as much as they are buying into your product or your service. So if the culture of the business, the culture of the product is not where it needs to be, then it stands to reason why a lot of times people aren't buying into the service that you provide or the product that you're selling, because behind it is the culture, and that culture shows us exactly some of the things that's missing within the culture of that business. People want to look at the importance of how structurally strong and resilient that business is. So what that looks like and what that means is, okay, how are you surviving, and how are you going to be innovative in those down seasons, in your winter seasons? How are you handling, for instance, when your supplier does not follow the instructions that you gave? Or how are you handling when your suppliers run out and now you need to relay some information over to customers? Are you letting them know, hey, that it's not just, you're not able to fulfill their order, but you're letting them know exactly what's going on? Hey, maybe, listen, we're having some supply issues, but even though it's on, your order is on back order, I want you to be in the know that we're going to make sure that we are providing you with excellent service, and we don't want to just go with anything cheap. So here is a way of compensation, or we can refund you your money. How are you handling the negatives within your business? Because that is also a key to speaking to your culture, is how you handle that. Are you looking, when you're hiring people, are you looking for high performance people? Are you looking for those individuals who can take a task, hear a task, be taught a task, and that they work it, they do whatever they need to be done, but they do it in a timely fashion? They're able to meet deadlines. Are you fostering a culture wherein you're getting them the things that they need so that they can produce your product or do the service in a timely manner, sometimes even faster than what the customer can even think about? Like, these are the things that's a part of the culture. Because watch this, when your employees go home, they're going to begin to talk about their job and how much they like it or how much they dislike it. What they learn from their job, they begin to correlate that even to their home life. So if the business is structured in a manner that they're very efficient, you begin to train your employees to think on an efficient level. And thus you begin to bring out of them another level of excellence. You begin to bring out a greater person that's inside of them that they didn't even know was there. So the culture is not just in how you just do procedures and your policies, but is also in the development of the people who work for you and work even around you. They're you don't even realize how a lot of times your suppliers and even your customers, they treat you differently based on how you not only treat them, but also how you treat your business. So if you open on time and you're very efficient, then they know, hey, when I come to whoever's business, I know that they're very efficient. So if I come with the dilly dallying, then I'm either going to be overlooked or I'm going to find myself being lost in the sauce because they operate on a different level, right? When you look at going into a Walmart versus going into a Target, there are two different cultures that you see, two different elements that you see. Walmart is more lax. It's more like an open flea market, so to speak. But then when you go into a Target, they're more organized. The pricing is a little bit different. The structure and how they handle the customer by way of the registers are different. There is a ambience in the atmosphere when you walk into a Target that is completely different than when you walk into a Walmart. It is the culture, the nature of the business that tells the quality of the product or service that you bring. Especially you who provide a service. Are the uniforms of your employees clean? Is it pressed? Their clothes, are they pressed? How clean is the vehicle? How organized are their tools and or whatever it is that they're using? How knowledgeable of your employees when it comes to the service? How efficient are they when it comes to tackling the task before them, as it pertains to their job, as it pertains to the service that you provide? These are the things, the nuances of a business that oftentimes people don't think about, especially when you're new in business. You just want to open your business. You just want to go out there and say, hey, I'm here. And you don't really think about those little small niches, those small pieces, components to your business that really makes and breaks a business, because your greatest asset is word of mouth. Your greatest asset is how you sell yourself, how you sell the service or product that you have. You also need to begin to be definitive in your culture. If you are in a business structure, then even though you want your employees to be comfortable, you also need to let them know this is still a business setting, and we do and it is required for you to dress and look a certain way. That your conversation, you answer the phone a certain way. When I was in sales, one thing that I learned is that no matter how your day is going, you smile. Yes, you're on the phone, but you smile. Why? Because the smile is translated through your speech. It is translated through your tone. And so sit up, smile, and talk on the phone, and you'll be surprised at exactly how things begin to be so smooth over the phone. And when you have a customer who is irate, who is upset, you begin to lower your voice. Don't raise it, lower it. The angrier they get, lower your voice. Why? Because you are in control of the conversation. And so if you get loud as they get loud, you lose control. And then you also begin to lose footing and you're not able to help the customer. As you lower your voice, you begin to they now have to concentrate to hear what you're saying. So they can't scream or continuously scream because they need to hear what you have to say. So after they're doing whatever, take moments of a reflection and pause. Don't say anything. And they get loud. Do you hear me? Do you hear what I have to say? Absolutely. I hear what you're saying. Well, you're not saying it. And you talk them down. And before long, they'll calm themselves down because you are in control. This is fostered in the culture of the business because the business lets you know that you have all the necessary tools to make sure that you take care of the customer, that you make sure that the vendors, your suppliers are taken care of. And so when they are out of control, you don't lose control because the culture that you are in is a place where now I operate at a different level. That I am here to answer your questions. I am here to solve your problems. And so that happens when the culture of the business is situated and structured and has brought in clear definitions. I used to work at a call center, and they used to say handle your call, and that was our thing. You could not just hand over the conversation to another agent or to a supervisor. You had to handle your call. You had to make sure that you took care of the customer to the best of your ability. And when you have ran out of your options, you have exhausted all of your options, it was then that you transferred them over to someone of a higher status that could help them along the way. But you could not just give over a difficult situation without absolutely going through every ounce of your training, because that was the culture of the business. And so oftentimes, when you're new starting out in the business, or you may have even gotten to the place where you're in a burnout state. I want to talk to my entrepreneurs who are tired. You're at that place where I'm ready to sell it to start something else, or I need a break. And you haven't created that exit strategy so that you can now separate yourself from the business and do something else. I want to encourage you to begin to be definitive in these next few months, these next few weeks, and definitive in the fact of, this is how we handle things outside of policy and procedure. This is how we conduct ourselves. We're going to make clear the policy and procedures so that you can begin to take some of the weight off of you, and then you can, in essence, begin to make other decisions, whether you're going to sell the business or whether you're going to bring in someone else to take care of the day-to-day operations. Another factor within that is knowing where you want to go. Where do you see the business growing and going? Because that also affects the culture of your business. When you come in, you don't want to start a business and you just think that it's going to remain small. Even if you live in a rural area, even if you live in a place where there's not a lot of people, or you even feel like the marketplace is saturated with what you have. Everybody seems like they're doing affiliate marketing, or everyone is doing drop shipping. It doesn't matter how many people are doing it. They're not you, and they don't present it the way that you do. And so you don't want to box yourself in as to say this is how it's always going to be. So you want to look at factors as it pertains to the vision of the business. Where do you see it going? Who do you see yourself working with? What other services or products do you see yourself adding, and what products and services you see yourself taking away? Because when you begin to look at those things, they begin to shape the culture. They begin to shape how, and not only how you hire, but also where the locations are. It begins to shape, your marketing strategies. All of these things play a key role, and especially you who understand branding, it definitely begins to speak to how you brand. Excuse me. Look at how many times, McDonald's or Taco Bell, and different other restaurants or different other businesses, Home Depot, for instance, excuse me, and even Lowe's, how they begin to change the way that the logos look. They begin to change some of their slogans, because the culture of the business began to change, not only with the times, but with their target audience. They began to maneuver in such a manner so that their business is forever growing. You don't want to find yourself like a Blockbuster. You don't want to find your business like a Sears. You don't want to find yourself, like some of these other businesses who were great and were big, and then all of a sudden, because they didn't learn how to pivot, they didn't look at the culture and begin to make the necessary adjustments. As an entrepreneur, you want to make sure that you are rolling with the times, but you also understand your target audience, because they also dictate the culture. You need to be considerate, have some considerations when it comes to creating and managing in within your organization? How are you fostering? How are you um, creating a space of creativity? If you're a t-shirt maker or you're a person who sews, make dresses or think, garments or whatever. um how are you how are you inspired? How is your team inspired? What sort of things are you looking to do within that? What are you considering, even making sure that your people are taking vacation? you know are you doing things on a level wherein you're taking your team to places where they can get other kind of information, where they're around other people who are in the same industry, so that they themselves don't get stagnant in where they are, but they actually are in a place where you are bringing their creativity to another level. And even with your managers, getting them to look at the people who they manage and lead into a place where they are not just looking at the people who are under them as just another number or someone who works there, but understanding of the culture that is within those set of workers. Because you have your employees who are just, they do the labor force, they have a culture. And then you have your management, they have a culture. And then, the owners, they have a culture. But then within all three of those cultures, then there is the overall culture of the business. And how are your managers, how are they able to interact with each other? How are they interacting with the laborers, with those who do the work? All of those things play a key and major role in the success of a business. How's the culture, how's the relationships between yourself and your vendors, yourself and your suppliers, as being the entrepreneur, as being the CEO and the founder? How is those relationships? How's that culture? What is it that you're fostering? Do you or every quarterly send them a thank you card, or maybe send them a bottle of wine or champagne? Are you sending them, like a gift card to Starbucks or to Panera Bread, those type of things? Because here's something that I learned working around restaurants and things, is that when you take care of your vendors, your suppliers, they begin to do a little bit extra. They begin to they look at you in a higher light, and so they're a lot kinder. When things seem to be dwindling low, they'll let you know, hey, on our end, some things are kind of, dwindling away. I just want to put you on notice that we're going to be discontinuing this, in 2 years. So start looking for different fabrics, or start looking in a different direction. All of this is a part of the culture, because you have established something between the two that is valuable, that is tangible, and that is something to be remembered. You have left a mark on them that they now will never be the same. But they also value you in such a manner that they will begin to even, look out for you more so than they do some of the other people that they're attached to. You need to begin to look at some practices to ensure the success of the business. Like I shared earlier, making sure that your team, the people who work under you, are going to different conferences, or that they are, around other creative people. Technology is always changing. There's always, some new industry, equipment that can help streamline and make your business move a lot faster. There are even ways to bring about integration within your business, buying one software that do multiple things, but still having a filing system that if something is to happen, that you're not just reliant on one thing, but you also have a backup. These are some of the culture norms. They call it, covering your behind. They use a different word than behind, but you making sure that the culture of your business says, I am not just here to make a dollar. I am here to be successful. I'm here to leave my mark in the marketplace. Lastly, and I hope you guys are really getting some value out of this, is communication. Looking at the metrics, looking at the legalism, within your business, look at the technology, and even how globally, things that happen globally affect your business. These cultures, I shared a couple of episodes ago about when people who use um, vendors and suppliers in China, and then you have Chinese New Year for that entire week for like 2 weeks. There's nothing going in and out of China because Chinese New Year they shut everything down because they are celebrating their new year. And so you have to be, as an entrepreneur who uses vendors and suppliers from there, you have to prepare for those things, and so that you yourself don't find yourself having um unmet services or even products because your supplier, your vendors are not moving anything at that moment. you know those are some of the things that you really need to look at. Even for instance, here now with the cargo ships sitting out in the water, and now the cargo companies are charging thousands of dollars just for the cargo to sit on a ship that's sitting out in the water as it waits to come into the docks and everything. So all of those things affect the pricing. All of that affects the timetable of getting your product, or even being able to fulfill your service to entities and people. All of those things play a major role. And if you have fostered a culture of being on time, being very open, these are very difficult times for you, but you also need to make sure that your customers are in the loop as to what's going on and why there are delays or why there may be a price increase. Even when it comes to those who ship various things. Diesel fuel has gone up. There's a truck driver shortage, but it's really not so much that it's a truck driver shortage, is that they're doing so much to our truck drivers. They're trying to minimize how fast they can go. They're changing the way, the schooling of truck drivers. So you have a lot of inexperienced truck drivers, and so there's an increase in accidents because you have inexperienced truck drivers over the road. Because of certain areas that truck drivers go to, you're experiencing higher levels of robbery because people are just stealing items and things. So all of these things are playing a part in that, and it affects your culture because as a business owner or even a person in management, you now have the task to relay over information that doesn't sound good and doesn't feel good. And now you also have to deal with the cost financially, as well as the cost of having to tell customers, I know it was one thing, or one timetable, but now I may have to do some changes. All of these things play a key and a major role. And so I want, you all who are my entrepreneurs, you are my people who, are managers, to really look at the culture of the business that you're in, and begin to ask the questions, what is this culture, and what is my role within this culture? How am I to add to it, and how am I taking away from it? Again, Indeed defines culture in a business as a set of behavioral and procedural norms that can be observed within a company, which includes its policies, procedures, its ethics, values, employee behavior and attitudes, goals, and code of conduct. How are we interacting? How are we moving? All of these things play a key and a major role in the life of the business. And so, as you are scaling your business even higher, these are some of the things you might want to consider. You need to consider. Here are some of the things that you need to make sure that you are addressing as you begin to add employees to your business. And so I just want to let you know that AG Consultant can definitely come in and begin to look at the culture that you have and begin to answer those questions and begin to help you to formulate a plan of action so that you can be successful as your business grows and transcends where it is. Sometimes it's not really the employees, sometimes it's just a marketing issue. Other times it may not even be marketing, but it may be the way that the sales team handles the customer and the customer complaints. But whatever the case is, AG Consulting can definitely address those issues. I want to thank you guys for joining us on Increase. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers who are entrepreneurs and leaders, and wherever and whatever capacity you're in and wherever you are. Happy Mother's Day. My hats go off to you, and your endeavors. And so I will see you all on Monday at 1 o'clock right here on Increase. Have a great day.